Equate the Steiners. You rise, cutting out the racket in the room, and begin your speech. You gesture passionately, putting all your faith in the power of justice into every word you utter. You have heard both parties and are ready to deliver your verdict. However much El Verja may cling to the Lord, he is not in a church. He is in a court of law, and this court's duty is to judge all the estates and decide all cases fairly. This case is of a nobleman who believes he has the right to rob and murder commoners as he sees fit. The Steiners are completely innocent. They were merely defending themselves against Elverge's assault. They are free to go. On pay of punishment, Elverge must not persecute these people further or make any attempt on their property. The courtroom is stunned by your decision. For a few moments, everyone is frozen, unable to believe that you have just acquitted the killers of the nobleman. Then the common folk burst into cheers. The guards escort the enraged Elverge out of the room by force. Flummoxed, the Steiners talk over each other in their haste to thank you. The other judges stare at you in horror. The trial is over. Well then, Brante, it's a shame you didn't follow my advice. Now the lowborn have nothing to stop them from taking up arms. There's a terrible storm brewing. We can only hope we won't be smashed against the rocks. Dangerous position, very close. Commoners seize power. Silver Thumb. Margaret has received alarming news from the neighboring province of Illyria. The lowborn convicts toiling in the Illyrian mines have revolted against their noble masters. For the first time in many long peaceful years, commoners have taken up arms. Worse yet, the insurgents had guns and gunpowder, and no one knows how they got them. Gunpowder weapons were banned throughout the empire as soon as they were invented. The lords deemed firearms dishonorable and unfit for the nobles. Even legion soldiers are forbidden from using them. But now gunshots were echoing for the mutinous Illyrian mines. The Imperial Legion was deployed to quell the riot. The legionnaires slaughtered the rebels without mercy, and the uprising choked to death on its own blood before it had even begun. The south of the Lyria is now a forest of gallows. The convicts' corpses were left swaying in the wind as a warning to any commoner who might dare to take up arms. Although the rebellion quickly succumbed to the imperial military's onslaught, many legion soldiers and officers were slain by the insurgents' firearms. Their steel armor was no match for bullets. Various weapons were destroyed in a public ceremony, but no one knows who built or smuggled them into the mines. All imperial overseers soon issued public reminders in their provinces. The punishment for owning a gunpowder weapon is true death by execution. But the empire is still restless, still anxious. Somehow, guns found their way into commoners' hands, if only for a short time. Would gunpowder and lead one day endanger the old ways of the empire? Authorities of Magra fear that unrest may soon spill over here. Due to the double tax, peasant farms and industrial manufacturers are facing harsh times. The province's wealth is steadily declining, but the discontent of the commoners is still held back by the eternal lot It demands they accept their suffering. Mhm. You arrive at the office one fine morning and find a visitor already sitting there. The visitor is none other than Thomas Guerrero. His heavy uniform already bears a captain's chevrons. Thomas looks nervous, his fingers drumming a foreboding staccato on the desk. Why has your old friend decided to pay you a visit? You pat your friend on the shoulder and congratulate him on his promotion. Thomas shrugs, quietly brimming with pride. I got bombed up a month ago. Apparently the Legion is running short on decent officers. And then I realized why there are so few of them. Wish I knew my direct superior was gonna be our very own Commander Otton. Thomas grows grim at the mention of Otton. Listen, buddy, you and me, we always help each other out, right? That arrogant bastard, well, he challenged me to a duel. For the second time, he cut me down a month ago. That was my second lesser death. I know I never told you, but it was tough. The gods, they spoke to me there in the hereafter. But right now, I got something worse to worry about in matters of the soul. See, Adam, he remembers me from the time at the academy when I stood up to him at the party. Now he's gonna kill me again and again until my true death comes. So it's a duel. That's Otton's way of having fun with his subordinates. Michael, I'm asking you as a friend. Will you be my second at the duel? I know Perfect Elborno doesn't like any kind of sword fighting. It's one of the old traditions he wants to put a stop to. But if I show up without a second, he won't just kill me for a third time, he'll dishonor me too. You knit your brow in thought. In the prefect's opinion, dueling is the lowest tool of noble tyranny. Elborn sees duels as an outmoded way of circumventing the legal system. He would be crushed to learn that one of his judges had been involved in a duel. Thomas sighs heavily. I know this is hard, pal, but I've got no one else to turn to. All the boys in the Legion fear Otton like the plague. You're the only noble who can support me in this. But I know this duel won't be the end. Our great Sir Otton will find an excuse for a third duel. Before I know it, that will be my last one for sure. Thomas rolls up the sleeve of his uniform, two pitch black lines, and circle his forearm. He's desperate, and it is easy to see why. 1-on-1 against an Arcane swordsman, he's doomed. The law forbids dueling. But if you refuse to show Thomas your support through your presence, your friend's spirit will be broken before his body can even be killed. We recall the previous encounters with Otton in your youth. Is there a chance that the distinguished Arcanian still remembers you? If you go to him and speak in Thomas' defense, will he even bother to listen? So we can't do that because Darius Otton it's -1. We can decline Thomas' request because bond of friendship. So we can only agree. We cannot possibly leave Thomas in need at time like this. You will go to the duel along with him. You have been best friends with Thomas ever since you were little boys. Does he really think you would abandon him to such a cruel fate? Of course, you will be his second at the duel, no matter what. Your friendship will not be broken, not even if you risk Prefect Elborna's displeasure. As the two of you walk to the palace ruins, you finally have time to ask Thomas for more information. What was Otton's excuse for changing him to a duel this time? Here's what happened. Otton told me to head to a nearby village with a squad of Legion soldiers. Sulmina, it's called. The villagers refused to pay the Archduke's tax. Said they already paid the tax to Guy's Tempestman. His overseer so law says the tax is his. So Otton told me, and the lads stood up a couple of the rowdiest peasants and put their houses to the torch to teach the rest of them a lesson. So we went there, and let me tell you, buddy, I didn't join the Legion to start hanging people and burning villages, so we decided to have a word with the village elder first. The locals soon realized what was going on. Losing money is one thing, but losing a spare life is worse. They hemmed and hawed and finally found enough cash to pay Archduke Milanides. Which means we came back to Anizoti with nobody dead and all money for the treasury. But when the commander sounds me and claims I didn't follow this order, which means I also slighted the honor of the noble Archnians who's my commander, so he changes me to do. I know that I'm not the first, Michael, and I'm not the last. Any officer in the Legion could end up like me. Otton does as he sees fit, with no plans to stop. He is a commander, he's a noble of the sword, he's an Archnian. We are just dirt under his boot. Who's gonna rend me in? You reach the site of the duel just before dawn. By a half-cramped wall, you see a tall figure clad in a thick cloak, Dorius Otton, High Commander of Maga, already expecting you. His azure fingers drum impatiently on the pommel of his sword. Thomas dutifully bows to his commander. Otton grimaces at him. You're late, Captain Guerrero. Why should I have to wait for you? You've insulted me again already. And who is this? I've seen your face before. Anyway, don't have time for this. Make haste. I have other duels today. The commander's second appears from the shadows. A young nobleman, quiet and eager to oblige his betters. A second, you ask the duelists if they are ready. Without a word, Otton draws his sword. Thomas nods anxiously, clearly ready to face another death. The two bow ceremoniously and adopt a dueling stance. The difference between them is apparent as soon as they begin. Otton's sword seems like an extension of his arm. Thomas pales before him like a clumsy child who has grabbed father's sword for the first time. Everything about this battle shows that Otton treats this duel as no more than entertainment. The Archnian moves around so rapidly and gracefully, your friend can barely defend himself against the flurry of strikes. Then, for the smallest moment, Otton tones down his sword, and for the first time during the duel, Thomas makes a riposte. Easily, effortlessly, Otton deflects Thomas' blow and then retaliates. His sword sticks through your friend's shoulder. As soon as you see the blade draw blood, you shout the duel to end. The death of the insult has been paid in blood. If the loser of the duel is ready to offer his apology, the fight must stop. What? Is some human trying to teach me the laws of the duel? I'm an Archnian of the Otton dynasty. There is no one here who can teach me the ways of honor. His sword flashes and stabs your friend straight through the heart. And that red spot begins to spread across Thomas' shirt. Your friend stumbles backward, he drops his sword, his knees buckle. A wheeze, an hour, then a cough full of blood, and his bright eyes grow dim and dull. Slowly, Thomas' body disappears. His blood-stained cloths, his sword, and his footsteps in the dust are all that remains. Otton hands his sword to his second, who is ready to wipe it down. Well then, that pitiful human will face another duel very soon. Let's hope he fights better during his last life. When your friend is reborn, tell him my exact words. The Archnian walks away calm and composed, the second in tow. Dazed and numb, all you can do now is gather your friend's belongings and bring them to his house. Unless you intervene, Thomas is doomed to meet his true death soon. You're a judge, but to an Archnian of such rank and birth, your authority means nothing. Is there any way you can help your friend? The day after a meeting with Thomas, time slows to a crawl. As you examine one case and after another, you cannot help but think back to your friend and his fate again and again. There is a knock at the door. Bernal Borna, the prefect, has decided to pay you a visit. I have a matter to discuss with you, Brante. Would you mind if we take a walk? It's getting a bit stuffy in here. The prefect clearly wants to discuss something in private. We walk down the stairs together and leave the prefecture. Soon, the two of you are walking down the noisy streets of the Brass district. The wind is strong today, the grey sky mercifully overcast. The people around you are bartering, buying and selling eagerly. The streets are full of craftsmen and factory workers. Merchant carts squeak as they roll down the streets. The head of the prefecture looks more worried than usual, lost in thought as he observes the bustling street life around him. Brante, do you recall how we talked about the tyranny of the nobility in the province? Darius Otton, the high commander of the Magra, is on a murderous spree. He changes his subordinates to a duel for the slightest infraction and slaughters them with impunity. If our law is unable to protect anyone from the violent tyranny of the Archnians, who will ever respect the law? It's time we put an end to this. As long as I'm in charge of the prefecture, establishing the rules of law over people of all estates and titles is our most important task. But people like Otton stand in our way. People who think themselves above the law. We need to prove them wrong. I have been informed that Otton has pressured your childhood friend, Captain Thomas Guerrero, into a duel, and I believe Sir Guerrero has sought your assistance in private. Am I right? You admit that it is so. Indeed, as an old friend, Thomas is counting on you to defend him. And so, young Brante, I believe that to be reason enough to entrust this case to you officially. If you find yourself doubting your abilities, know that you are my best candidate. No other judge would have the courage to prosecute an Arachnian. That and they trust you more than any ordinary judge. I spoke to your father, but even if he would not accept this undertaking. He says your family has worked too hard to be nobled by this thought to risk it all now. But you bear no such burden, do you? As it stands right now, sentencing an Arachnian to even to the smallest punishment is unthinkable. But drop by drop, water can wear down any stone. We'll make our way to Otton, but we must do it slowly and carefully. What we need is a perfectly prepared case. We need you to find enough incontrovertible evidence and enough witnesses who are willing to testify in court. But I'm sure you realize that even this won't be enough to force an Arachnian to go to trial, don't you, Michael? We have to change the unspoken rules in our city and province. We'll start with lower-ranking people, lower-ranking cases, and little by little we'll establish rules that even high-born nobles will have to obey. All of a sudden, Alborno stops, standing in the middle of the street, bustling with life. He points out a number of commoners hurrying about their business. Just look, all these people need to know that there is such a thing as justice. The law must apply to them all, no matter their lot, whether suffering, praying, or ruling. They need to know they can rely on us, judges, to enforce the law against anyone and everyone. I'm counting on you in this, Sir Brante. Stand motionless as Elborn studies you intently. From now on, from this moment forth, you'll prosecute a case against the High Commander of Magra, a high-born Arachnian from an ancient dynasty. This is a pivotal moment in your destiny and your career. You could rise higher than ever or plunge into obscurity and ruin. You decide to talk about Thomas and his fate. Right now, he represents your best chance at getting Otton indicted, but there is absolutely no guarantee he will live to speak at trial. If you are to oversee this case, ensuring his safety has to be the first thing you do. You're right, Brante. We need Thomas Guerrero to see this to the end. But remember, this is about more than just your friend and his fate. This is a matter of law and justice for the entire province. The peril to Sir Thomas's life is great indeed, but if you openly defy the High Command right now, your standing will suffer accordingly. You could find a safe shelter for Sir Thomas away from Otton, but if Thomas remains in the city, he might be of use when you begin looking for Otton's other victims. I realize you are looking for a way to rescue your friend, but right now we must all use caution, lest our entire cause suffer. What say you, Michael? What is your plan? So we cannot convince Thomas to leave the Legion. But we can send Thomas out of the Anisotia. We can have Thomas taken into custody. Or we can let Thomas roam freely. So what's your choice? And yeah, think about that. If he's gonna be in a city, it's easier to find other victims. So choose.